Welcome to CEO Warriors webinar on unleashing your workforce, building, leading, and succeeding in recruiting. So, thank you for joining us today. And I wanted to just jump right in. As we go through this, obviously people will be coming and going throughout the training. That's perfectly fine. If you have any questions and you're on, please feel free to unmute, ask your questions, or type them in the chat bar. But as we get going, I'm going to share my screen so we can get started with the Warrior webinar. So you should be able to see my screen right now. It says Warrior Webinar, Unleash Your Workforce. So what I want to talk about is really how do we recruit a world-class team? How do we get a structure so incredibly good that people are banging on the door trying to come work for our company? That's where we want to be. So how do we build, lead, and succeed in the best recruiting, best culture, best workforce, and then scalability and growth just follows that. So the first thing I want to talk about is whether or not you actually even need someone. Okay, so you have to do that. We're going to get into that in a few slides, but whether or not you really need someone, we're going to get there. But way before recruiting happens, one other really important thing happens. That is, do you have a culture of a company that people want to work for? So if you don't have your service experts, your internal employees, your field employees, folks that are literally knocking on your door saying, I've got people for you because this is such a great place to work. I want all my friends and family to come work here too. Ask yourself this, are your teammates, the people out in the field, are they handing out business cards with that same sentiment? This is such a great place to work. You've got to come work here. If they're not, it's okay. I'm going to go through a couple of ways that you can build a culture that winds up being just that. My experience, my most recent company that we worked for, we had people knocking on our doors, a few a week, knocking on the door saying, can I come work for your company? Love that. What does that mean? We built a culture that made people gravitate towards us. I didn't spend a tremendous amount of money on recruiting because I didn't need to. We were getting internal referrals. We had a great referral program. We had people knocking on our doors asking to come work for us. So because of that, it was really, it was great to be able to see that and be able to have people join us, want to join us. Not that I had to go find them, they were finding me. And that's really great. I've been in the service world for, God, 20 something years at this point. Mix of working for companies, owning companies in the services world. And it wasn't until I figured this out, kind of cracked that code, if you will, where I started having people knock on my door and come wanting to work for me. It feels great, it's very humbling, but you have to create a phenomenal, culture. So here's the way we're going to work this. We're going to talk about building a world-class recruiting structure. I'm going to show you your steps for success. So we're going to talk about culture, build it. They will come. Yes, I stole that from Field of Dreams. I am not apologizing for that. I'm a baseball guy at heart, so there you go. Finding and attracting the right candidates, interviewing do's and don'ts. How do you offer the job and avoid the counter? Onboarding the right way, clarity, alignment, and accountability. Three of my favorite pillars. I talk about them all the time. Don't know how I would have ever ran a company, especially in home services, without clarity, alignment, and accountability. Discipline for improvement. And unfortunately, we're going to talk a little bit about what I call promoting to the competition. Maybe the rest of the world calls that firing or laying off or getting rid of someone. I simply called it promoting to the competition, giving your employee a wonderful opportunity to go work somewhere, just not here. So I don't take that lightly because that is a very last resort. And if you put that much time into someone, I hated having to tell people that they were no longer welcome within our company. But guess what? Because of my culture, they usually walk themselves out way before I ever had to have that conversation. So we're going to talk about these 8 things, okay? Let's talk about culture real quick. So culture is a pretty interesting thing. And I do call it a thing. It's a way of being. It's a mindset. It's the thing that is the living and breathing part of your company. So first and foremost, it starts with, does everyone understand what the heck we're doing? Okay. So does everyone understand our core values? Right? Do they understand what are our core values of an organization? What is our core purpose? What is our painted vision? We're all on the same page. And yes, of course, I did steal the Field of Dreams picture as well. I'm going all in on the Field of Dreams thing here. Okay. So do we establish values that reflect the company's mission? Do we communicate and reinforce those values regularly? Well, I certainly hope so, because otherwise your core values don't have a lot of meaning. Okay. Are we leading by example? I think this is a huge one for leaders, owners of companies, people that are in critical management positions. Are we leading by example? Or do we say that ever so unpopular, do as I say, not as I do? I hear that and all I think of is terrible leadership quality. No, you're going to lead by example. You're going to leadership should embody the values and behaviors expected from their team. You're the example. Be the example. Ensure consistency in the actions and decision making. It can't be right for one and not right for the other. You have to be clear with your expectations and lead by example, and everyone needs to follow the same rules. Do you foster open communication? Encourage transparency and open feedback, regular feedback. Is it open, or do people come to you kind of closed off, afraid that you're going to get angry? Can't have that and still consider yourself a good culture. You have to have transparency, regular feedback, and you have to use multiple channels, right? To gather that information, to pass that information on. It can't always be one-on-one communication. There's group meetings, there's small group meetings, there's one-on-one communication. There's all sorts of different ways to communicate with someone, text, phone call, plenty of ways, but you have to use all of those. And when you get information and you know that it's fact, I do an entire series on fact versus feeling and taking action on fact, not feeling. I've been down that road hundreds of times. It is terrible. It sucks. And it is a bad place to be, because you take it on feeling and now you're going down this road where you're basing all of your actions, sometimes even disciplinary, along the feelings that someone had, not fact. Do you prioritize your employees' well-beings? Are you supporting a work-life balance? Now, I understand some of you in home services are laughing at the idea that there's such thing called a work-life balance. Fully understand that, fully get it. We were in a HVAC, right, an HVAC, plumbing and electrical company in South Carolina. There wasn't a lot of work-life balance in the South, in the summer, in the HVAC world. We ran full steam. Now, granted, we had a lot of programs built in, so we ran full steam all year round, thank God. But we really weren't afraid of seasonality because we didn't have a shoulder season, because we had other things in place. That wasn't built specifically on our culture, but our guys understood that. They understood that we're going to provide them work. They need to have a that when we were going to promote and have enough people to have some semblance of work-life balance. I'll tell you this, my culture that I'm going to speak very highly on, middle of the summer in the South, air conditioning company, and my guys had the ability to do 3-day weekends. Okay. Now, we did that for a reason, and we had people taking 3-day weekends in the middle of the summer, and they still put in their multiple hours, 5 days in a week, and were highly productive. Okay. So we had that. We also provided a wellness program, right? We wanted to promote wellness, create an environment that prioritizes mental and physical health. We had people, we supported people going to the gym before work or after work. We promoted people for having uh, a wellness program at the office, and then we also were there to support them if they needed help. If they needed mental or physical help, we were there to support them. Invest in their development. Are you taking the time to offer learning and career growth opportunities? Are you training your people? If they come to you with a new skill set they want, and we're going to talk about action set, skill set, and mindset a little bit later on, but if they come to you with an idea that they want to do and improve themselves, are you just shutting them down? Are you open to that conversation? What does this mean? What could you use these skills for? How can it better you and better the company? What can you do to help our organization if you were to go get certified in this or take a course in that or go to this one-day training? What is the expectation when they come back from that training? Right? Those are all really good. Are you encouraging skill building and mentorship? Are you having contests and training, talking about leadership across the board with every person in your company? You do not know who your best leaders are unless you give them the opportunity to lead. I truly believe that. There were people who stepped up in my organization at various times. We had over 100 employees, and we had, starting out, we had 15 employees when we started. And then we had over 100 employees, like I said. During that time, we identified some people that you would have never thought had leadership qualities. Leaders are not always the people who are the best in the field. That's a common misconception, that we feel that if you are good in the field, you can come back and you can lead that technology. The best HVAC service expert may not be your leader. They might be a phenomenal service expert, really serve at the highest level. You have no idea if they have leadership skills until you test them out. Are you recognizing and rewarding people as you should? Are you having regular recognition meetings? We have one a month, one of our tech meetings, one a month, whole company in, and we celebrated the people who got 5-star reviews. We called them kudos when a customer calls in and says, hey, Kevin was at my house and he did a wonderful job, right? We celebrated that once a month. We created a culture of recognition. People all knew that they got recognized, and we, as a company, decided that we were actually going to incentivize that by giving people money. Okay, so we gave them a bonus for getting a 5-star review or getting a kudos, and then we kind of made sure there was always a little contest for anyone within the organization. And we had that meeting, we did our recognition. So are we promoting inclusion and diversity? Do we have policies that foster a diverse and inclusive workplace? Do we have everyone feels comfortable working in our organization? And do we create a safe and supportive environment? Are there people there that don't feel safe being at your company? Are there people who are having conversations? Just like elementary, middle, and high school, do you have some bullies on your team? Do you need to deal with those people? And is everyone creating a core value? One of our core values was making it a great place to work. Someone went against that core value because, again, maybe they were a bully, maybe they were constantly in a bad mood and they were always the person when there was a scenario, some drama, they were the one in the middle, right? Those people need to be coached and they need to be handled, but you have to create a safe and supportive environment. Are you encouraging collaboration, people to work together, asking people's opinion rather than dictating new policy to them? Are you aligning with your business goals? When you say you have a vision, is everything you're doing lining up with that vision and those core values? Then, if you find a problem, are you able to adapt and improve? Regularly assess your cultural health. Do it through a survey, right? Get feedback. Understand what your people are saying, not just to your face, but maybe on a piece of paper that's anonymous. A lot of good information comes out of that. Me and my partner, Jason, were recently out at a site, and we did an on-site survey while we were at a customer site. And the information that came back was very enlightening to the owner. Some of the stuff he didn't know, but these folks felt it was safe to write it on a piece of paper and hand it back to us. When we summarized it to them, lots of ideas, lots of light bulbs. Man, I should try this. Oh, I didn't realize they felt this way. Those types of things sparked an ability to improve their culture. So be open to evolving culture based on change or changing it. Okay. So now we've talked about building a culture, building the house that people want to live in. Now let's get into a little bit of the nitty gritty. Oh, sorry, forgot one piece. Have a 52 weeks of culture idea. This is a form that we have within our den of resources, library of resources. We call it our den for CEO Warrior. This document right here that you see on your screen is literally 52 weeks. If you did one thing every week, simple things. I put some of the highlights over here. Giving someone their birthday off and helping them celebrate the day of their birth. Celebrate them. Let them be selfish on that day. I loved it. Have a lunch with a team member. I know that sounds so elementary and rudimentary, but can't tell you how many phone calls I have with owners and leaders of companies, and their excuse is, I'm so busy, I don't have time to do that. While you're doing that and not paying attention or giving a little bit of attention to an employee that might need it, they're out looking for a new job. Lend them a helping hand. Once again, when we talk to people that come to our trainings or we see them on site and they say to us, yeah, the boss comes in, he walks right to his office, or the leaders do this, or the leaders do that, and it's not jumping in, helping, lending a hand. I used to go to work way earlier than I probably needed to be because I wanted to help my installers. I had an install manager. I had very capable, much stronger than me, much younger than me, installers, but I was there. And when needed, I was the guy on the other end of that heavy box lifting it for them, loading their truck with them, maybe having a laugh and a cup of coffee while we connected a little bit. But just being there to lend a hand, give positive encouragement, cook breakfast one day. One of our members recently was having a really great month, looked back, said, man, we killed it in September. The team came in and he was there cooking breakfast for them. Sausage, egg, and cheese sandwiches, by the way. I kind of missed that day. I wish I was there for that. But that was great. His team walked out with phenomenal smiles and a new encouragement to be proud of that patch that's right here on their chest. Okay? Write a personal note. I think this is absolutely paramount. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. I'll try and keep it up against me so you can see it. But this right here is basically looks like a postcard. And what I would do with this, along the lines of writing a personal note, is I would, old school, I have a pen in my hand. I would handwrite a note. I would say, hey, Mike, thanks for being a great asset to the team, and then sign my name. And when I would put this on their desk, and they would come in the morning and look at it, they knew that I appreciated them. And when was the last time you actually had a handwritten note? When was the last time you sent a handwritten note? But when was the last time you got one? It means a lot. I know it's old school, and I know everyone would much rather just send a text. But everyone is sending a text. You want to feel a little bit outside, a little bit outside the box, make someone feel like you really talked or thinking about them. Have them a handwritten note. They get texts all day long, kind of white noise. When you're having a meeting, play great music, right? I know that doesn't sound profound, but if you ever come to one of our trainings, I guarantee you're met with some pretty loud, cool music. Now, I use cool, I'll put air quotes around that because it's only cool to me because I get to pick the music. As a director of training, that's one of my things, is I get to pick the music. Sometimes I do well, sometimes I don't. But most of the time, it's some pretty darn good music. People are up, people are excited. People already start every one of our trainings and or meetings with good music, and they're on an upbeat. That's culture. That's our culture. That's the warrior culture. Okay? Have contests, like I said before. Have a family day. Picnic, barbecue, ball game. Take them to a ball game. Right? We used to go, whenever we could, we would have a family day in the field across from our parking lot. We used to rent out dunk booths, and all sorts of great stuff. It was a phenomenal time. Okay, so now we are at the point of we built the house. We want people to come in. We want people literally standing in line waiting to come into our house. Here's what you need to do as well. Before you say, absolutely, let's hire, do I really need this person? Okay. Let's look at our workload. Let's look at our capacity. Let's look at our efficiency. Okay. When I say efficiency, let me talk to you a little bit about that. Are each one of your people being at the level of efficiency you think they can be? Or do they have a little more to give? If you think they're tapped out and they're maximizing their efficiency and they're all doing very well, beating your expectations and really humming along, then yeah, maybe you need someone. The last thing you need to look at is your P&L. Can you afford to hire someone? Now, right in all of this is where ranking your team and understanding who the top people are and who the bottom people are. Every team has it. Every team has a list and a stack rank of their people. Okay, that's when you get to understand if you do find, and some people will appreciate this. I know my partner Caroline will appreciate this. If you find a Derek Jeter, you hire a Derek Jeter and figure it out later. You find that person, they come to you because you've built this amazing home, and people come up to you and say, and Derek Jeter is knocking on your door, and you look around and you say, absolutely, I'll take that all-star all day long. And now look around and say, okay, now what happens? You figure it out because you just got an all-star. Okay? Now, how do you find the right candidate? Let's start with writing a good job description. So when you create a clear job description, you have things like skills, certification, emphasize your company culture. Everything that I just talked about before, emphasize those things. Use diverse recruiting channels, post on job boards, leverage employee referrals, have a referral program. If you find me a critical person, I will pay you $2,500, $3,000, right? Incrementally, of course, you don't dump it all up front, but you break that up. And if you don't have people coming to you, one, because you built a phenomenal house, two, because they're going to get $3,000 additional as a bonus for finding you that great candidate, you have to really look about whether or not you have the right company, or do you have to go back to the drawing board with it? Okay. And use social media. Use it. People are all over social media. Use Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. But I will tell you this, it's not just about the skills, certifications, and highlight your culture. We used to have a video, very raw video, walking around with an iPhone. And the question was, why do you love working at our company? And just a video compilation of all these people just tagged together of their answer. A lot of it was family, a lot of it was culture, a lot of it was the directors treat us like family, right? There was a lot of this. Family came up a lot, and I love that. But we used that. That was our recruiting video. And it was raw. It was off a cell phone of one of my people walking around asking that question. Right? Partner with trade schools. Connect with a trade school. Start an apprentice program. We started an apprentice program at our company. We grew our own technicians when we decided they were too hard to find. We grew them like a farm. They came in, they got trained by us, and depending upon the state, the county, and the place where you live, there may be incentives for that. We had a very big incentive by the state of South Carolina in order to start our own apprentice program because there weren't a lot of them. So they were willing to give us a lot of incentives in order to start that program. And the trade schools, get involved with the trade schools. Why? Because when the instructor at the trade school finds the right person, you're the first one they think of. Okay? Highlight your benefits and career growth on your job on your job description, right? So promote the benefits, tool allowances. If there's anything that's a little bit outside the norm, growth opportunities, birthday off. I had that in every one of our job descriptions was I told people they get their birthday off. It wasn't a PTO day. They got paid for it, of course, but it wasn't. You didn't have to use it because and take some of your PTO. No, this was a day that we wanted to celebrate you. Go enjoy your day. And in fact, if you have a work phone, leave it here. Right, leave it right on my desk. Gonna be there tomorrow morning. Go enjoy yourself. That's how important it was. Now, when you find a candidate, make sure that you're using phone interviews, assessments, technical assessments. There's plenty out there. There's some even in our vendor program, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit here. But use your phone interviews, use your assessments, check their technical skills and cultural fit. When you're asking these questions, I'm going to get to this interviewing as well. When you're asking questions, listen. Don't just think of the next question that has to come out of your mouth. Focus on their customer service skills when you're finding the right candidate. Build a strong employer brand, right? Showcase the positive company. If you walk into your company and it's not a place that feels good, doesn't have a good energy, or the people walking around smiling, is there maybe a little bit of music in the background and people are walking around feeling happy, looking happy, energized. If you don't have that, well, then guess what? You don't have a really good culture and brand. If you have testimonials, employee testimonials, similar to walking around with the iPhone, then use those. Let the world know that that's what you have and this is what people are saying about you. We spend a ton of time getting Google reviews. Why not getting employee testimonials when you want to recruit? Offer training opportunities. If training is something that you do, make sure that you'll get the right candidates if you let them know that you're offering training and that's something that's exciting to them. Those are people who have a growth mindset. Okay? Now you have to assess the long-term fit. So looking for things like reliability, strong work ethic, alignment with company values. These are all the things that you look at once you set the job description and people start flowing information in, resume, phone calls, emails, what have you. Now, we in our program, as I mentioned, I was going to talk about our vendor program. We have a vendor program. Why would someone join CEO Warrior, work with us, get coached by us, and then also be able to take advantage of our vendor partners? Well, here's a couple reasons. One, you get rebates on their service, as well as getting rebates from us. Now, the funny thing, and my history with CEO Warrior is I worked for an organization that was a member for several years before I became an employee with the company. In fact, we had a wonderful relationship going way, way back into late 2015, early 2016 with CEO Warrior. And they helped us grow, scale, helped us through some massive problems, and all the way to the point of they helped the company become an attractive organization to be purchased, which is ultimately what happened to our company in South Carolina. But because we used the vendor program, we got rebates. Those rebates actually paid for a large portion of our membership fees to be part of the company. To me, it was a no-brainer. Now, why use them? Well, here are 4 higher dimensions: Yellowstone, higher bus, work with your hands. It's just a small sampling of all of the vendors that are out there to help you find candidates. Many of our members are actually using these and they're able to find candidates, whether it's screening all the way through to full-on recruiting lifecycle. Using our program, you get Warrior pricing, rebates, Warrior pricing, Warrior customer service. They fully understand what's expected of them is the same as what you would expect of us. Top level customer service. Phone calls back. They also fully understand the Warrior way. We spend a lot of time, and my colleague Caroline spends an awful lot of time discussing the Warrior way so people understand our processes, our procedures, what we're teaching. Often enough, we'll do a large scale training in our headquarters, and I'll look up and some of our vendor partners are standing in the back. Why? Because they want to continue to learn the warrior way. They're invested in us. So let's talk about some interview do's and don'ts. So right now we've built the house, we've baited the hook, and we threw it out there to find people. Okay? Let's talk about do's and don'ts. So here are the do's. Prepare thoroughly for your interview. Review the candidate's resume and prepare relevant questions. Have a clear understanding of the job requirements and the skills needed. Make them feel important. If they're walking into your office and there's a place for them to go sit down, make sure someone says hello to them. If not you, make sure there's someone sitting out there that could definitely say hello to them and offer them a drink, water, coffee, soda, seltzer, whatever. But give them the same thing like you would expect when you went into a friend's house. Create a comfortable environment. Start with a friendly introduction and set the candidate at ease. Here's where I'll give you a little hint. 17 years in the recruiting industry. When you walk in a room, see what that person does if they were already sitting in the room. There's certain etiquette that we decide is important, like standing up and shaking your hand. Now, granted, COVID changed some people's mindsets in that. I understand that. But the fact of the matter is, if someone doesn't stand up when you walk in the room, not a disqualifier, put it in your head. When you walk in the room, see what they're all about. Are they nervous? Is their leg tapping? Right? Notice these things and just ease them into, because you'll never get the best of them if you don't do that. Okay? Explain the interview process and expected duration right up front. Right? Just like I started this with an agenda, start with an agenda. Let them know what's going to happen. Let her know what's going to happen during this conversation and how long they think. You guys happen to know this is going to go to 5. Okay? Ask open-ended questions. Use questions that encourage candidates to elaborate on their experience. Tell me about a time when. Tell me about a situation that you solved. Okay? Focus on behavioral. It's called the STAR method. Situation, task, action, result. Okay? And that's how you're going to assess their past behaviors and decision making. So when you give them that scenario, the situation, the task, the action, the result, listen to what they say. Listen actively. Allow the candidate to speak without interruptions. Your job isn't to sell them on your company while they're trying to tell you about themselves. Because then what's happening is you're doing this. Right? You want to have a nice back and forth. I say something, I ask a question. Hopefully it's not closed-ended. And then I look and Andrea comes back to me with an answer and I'm listening to it. Why? Because I want to use that information as we flow through the conversation. Take notes to capture. I always got into the habit, I don't know why I learned it many, many years ago, was I asked permission to take notes. Now, yes, I'm the interviewer, big bad interviewer. They're coming to see me. They need my job more than I need them. I used to hear people say that. It blew my mind. No, this was an equal part conversation and they should feel just as comfortable. So ask, hey, is it okay if I take some notes? I'm gonna take some notes while we talk from this. They should be taking notes. Even better, they ask you if it's okay to take notes. But when an interview comes in without a resume, sits down, leaning back in their chair like this, no paper, no pen, you kind of are getting a picture of what life is going to be like later on down the road. Okay? Assess their cultural fit. Ask questions that gauge their alignment with the company's values and team dynamics. You know your team best. Okay? When I used to have someone interview someone, if they were going to join a team, and when we got big enough, there was only a handful of people that directly reported to me. Everyone else directly reported to a critical manager. Those critical managers were the first C in the interview. I went in at the end. Right? But some people I got, if they weren't available or whatever, I did the interview because, again, it is part of what I did for a living for a very long time. Okay? I knew my team and I could understand, and I wanted to talk about our company values, core values, our 4 core values. Do you understand them? Our core purpose, our painted vision. I didn't go dive into 7 pages of painted vision. Well, your painted vision should be that big, but you understand. what I did is I got into where we're going 1, 2, 5 years down the road so that person sees a picture. Okay. Be transparent, share details about the role, good, bad, ugly. Okay. You want to have a expectation of honesty? Start it by being honest yourself. Address any concerns the candidate might have with the position. Ask the question, how does that sound? Do you think this sounds like a good fit for you? Involve multiple interviewers, like I said before. Provide prompt feedback. Okay. So offer feedback even if the candidate is not selected. And it can be a not for now. No, just for now. We'd love to keep your information on hand. When I first started, this became very easy for me because when I first started, I was in staffing. Okay. Temporary staffing, which means if someone called me at 4 o'clock, I needed to have a candidate at their office at 7:30 the next morning. I needed to continuously, even if I didn't have a job for them, needed to continuously keep that positive experience and positive mentality that I was there for them. Same thing when people come see you. Even if you know for a fact you will never probably hire that person, it's not your job to tell them what they did wrong, how they did terrible. Your job is to say, I appreciate you coming in at this time. We're not going to move forward, but I'd love to keep your information on file. Leave it at that. Okay. Follow up and close the loop. Keep candidates informed of the next steps in the timelines and keep to those timelines. So those are the do's. Let's talk about the don'ts. Okay. Avoid personal and illegal questions. Avoid questions about age, marital status, race, religion, or other protected categories. One, there's not a lot of reason why you should have that information. Okay. You can look at someone and you're already gonna, like, some of these things, right? But it doesn't matter to how they're going to do their job. Don't dominate the conversation. Avoid talking more in an interview. Interviews are very much like a sales call where you do a lot more questions and listen than you do give statements. If you're giving statements, then here's what you're trying to do. You're trying to force that person to like your job. What's going to happen when you do that? That person may come on early. They're probably not going to last. You're setting yourself up for failure. Don't make snap judgments, okay? Stay objective and avoid forming opinions on first impressions. One of my best technicians that I had work for me, a lot of my technicians that I had work for me, my service experts out in the field, covered in tattoos, right? Now, someone might say, well, tattoos are so normal. Yeah, they are. But, they would walk in, and I had people with face piercings, tattoos on their necks. Like, I had people who were out there that had these things. They were not bad people. They were just, that was what they chose to do. I did not allow my first impression, like, I don't know about this one, get ahead of me, because I would have lost out on some really good people in my career. Okay. Don't focus solely on technical skills. If they are working in the field, I get it. They have to have technical skills. But balance your technical questions with assessments of soft skills and cultural fit. You want the person to fit into your culture. You want them to be excited about your culture. You can teach a skill set. Don't criticize previous employers. Oh, you worked for that company? I heard really terrible things about them. Who cares? You're not the one interviewing. Don't overpromise. Be realistic about the job expectations, career growth, benefits, and money. I see all these people saying, hey, come work for me. You'll sweep the floors and make 100K. I'd love to know how that works. Because they're just trying to get someone to come in and sweep the floors, and then they're going to explain to them why they can't pay them 100K. Okay? Don't interrupt or rush responses, and don't forget to thank the candidate, right? Show appreciation regardless of whether you think you're going to move forward. Thank them for coming in. They took the time out of their life to come see you. So personality profiling, I love personality profiling. We have two examples here. We have the DISC profile and the Myers-Briggs. Those are two of my favorites. There's plenty others out there. And what they do, and we have a lot of our vendors that I mentioned earlier, Hierology and those Higher Bus and some of those, they actually use this profile if you ask them to. They'll run someone through the profile and tell you why that would be good. And here's some of the reasons why you would use it. Identify behavioral fits, predict job performance, reduce turnover, and support professional development. When you do the DISC assessment, we use the DISC assessment in CEO Warrior quite a bit. A lot of our trainings and such, and we use it sometimes in our events. And we look at it, and people are always, wow, right? One of my favorite exercises we do is along the DISC assessment, because people really start recognizing, wow, that does really mean a lot about how someone goes about a task, right? So that's really, really important to do the personality profiling if you can use that and you know how to use that. So when you're making the job offer, so now we've got the house, we got the bait, we found the person, we interviewed them appropriately. Now we're at love them, need to make a job. Make it personal. Call the candidate directly. Don't send an email. Express your excitement about having them on board. So excited for you to join our family. Be clear and specific. So clearly outline your role, salary, benefits, start date, and any onboarding requirements. Make sure they fully understand all those things. What do they need to bring with them on day one? Highlight the benefits and growth. Share details on the compensation, tool allowances, career advancement opportunities. Emphasize your company culture one more time. Remember, they liked your culture. You talked about your culture in the interview. Emphasize it one more time. Follow up in writing. Send that offer letter immediately. Don't let it sit. It's just like a sales. Time kills all deals. What's going to happen is that person is going to think that it's not important to you anymore, or give their own perception of why you're not going to, and it could be wrong, why you're not going to hire them. Give them time to decide. Allow a candidate time to review and respond. Just because a candidate doesn't say, heck yes, I'll be there tomorrow, doesn't mean they're not interested. For me, I can tell you this. Any job that I've taken, I've gone home and I've talked about it with my wife. We've discussed it, and the next morning I call back. Now, maybe I've been really excited and told them about it in that, that same evening I wrote back. Prepare them for onboarding. Plan a smooth onboarding process right from the get-go. Get them off to a great start within your company. Let's talk about onboarding. So pre-onboarding, send the welcome email like we just talked about, key information, first day agenda, prepare the workspace, right? I hated it when I would watch sometimes, and I mess this up from time to time, where they would walk in and someone would say, oh, what are you here for? I start today. Already it's feeling not so great. We got to the point where we had a big monitor right at the front of our building, right? As soon as you walk in the front door, big monitor sat there. We would have something playing on that on repeat that said, welcome, Kevin. So happy you joined the family. You walk in and you see that, and it's flashy and, way more creative than I could be. But you feel good. Now you come in, you sit down to the desk, you already have everything there. I'm going to give you one more little piece of advice here. We used to do something called the first dollar letter. Literally cost you $1 and an envelope. And there's a letter that you can print out, and you can take that, fold it up, it's already templated, you sign it, and you give them an actual dollar day one. And why is that important? This is the first dollar that you earn with us. It's exciting. It's the same premise as why you go in a restaurant and you see a framed dollar bill on the wall. It's the first dollar they got. That's how they got their start. People are proud of that. Give them a warm welcome. Introduce them to new hires. Okay? I skipped structured plan. Sorry. Create a detailed onboarding schedule for the first 30, 60, 90 days. Set clear goals and expectations with them. Have a warm welcome, like I said. Share the company vision, values, and how their role fits in one more time. Make sure there's a comprehensive training and onboarding program. Okay? Offer role-specific training and required certifications, and be there for them if they need those. Set your expectations so you're reviewing the job responsibilities and performance metrics. Having regular check-ins, right? Schedule meetings to provide feedback. How are you feeling? You should never have day 7 of an employee saying, hey, Where's Billy? He never showed up today? Because 6 days in a row, he wasn't feeling it. And you just didn't know about it. Okay? So having regular check-ins is super important. Having social interactions that facilitate team interactions and participation in events. Get that person to get off the bench. Get them to join in with your company. Continue the mentorship and follow-up beyond the first month. And then again, get feedback consistently. But having a really good onboarding program that you literally have on a piece of paper, that when they walk in, you can have it, and you checklist. And if you're doing ride-alongs, which is something very important in home services, sit down and ask that new employee what they thought of the ride-along. What did they think of the process? You saw it firsthand. Get the person that they rode along with, come in, fill out a form. We actually had a form. We have one in the resources in the den as well. But have them fill out a form assessing that person's skills, cultural fit, all the important aspects of that person making a long-term fit with your company. So now, going back, built the house, set the hook, interviewed well, offered them the job. They start first day, they're on a great pattern. Let's talk about their accountability. So at CEO Warrior, we have 9 pillars. They're listed here: mindset, skill set, action set, clarity, alignment, accountability, managing, coaching, and training. I'm going to specifically talk about clarity, alignment, and accountability. Not just because they're 3 of my favorite, but here's what I don't understand. You're going to have clarity. Everyone talks about accountability. I hired this person, they didn't live up to their standard, what I thought they were going to do. They're kind of slow. They're not as good. I'm going to ask, do they fully understand what their expectations are on a daily basis? Meaning, are they clear what your expectations are of them? Do they have alignment? Do they know what their resources are? Do they know the why you're asking them to do things? Right? That's alignment. So you have clarity, what's expected of me, alignment of why, how. And without those 2 things, how do you hold someone accountable? You're just going to say, oh, well, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Do they understand what they were supposed to do? They understand why they were supposed to do it. So this simple clarity plus alignment equals accountability little thing there, right? It's that simple for accountability. Hold people accountable only if and only if they have clarity and alignment. And that starts with you. Have you done enough setting the expectations of your people so that when they come to work, they know exactly what's expected of them, they know exactly how to do it, why to do it, when to do it, and what happens if they don't do it? We're going to get to that. So holding your people to especially performance-based service experts. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Every employee, I don't care if it's people here, Amazon, Walmart, everyone has a need. Every company has a need for that employee to pay for themselves. And you need to now understand what's expected of me. There isn't a doubt in my mind what's expected of me at CEO Warrior every day from my manager, from my boss. Why? Because we've had it very clear conversations. I know all about my clarity. I know all about my alignment, and only I would let myself down if I didn't hold myself accountable. And frankly, I hold myself accountable so that my boss doesn't have to. That's the only way I think this thing works. But that's how important clarity, alignment, and accountability is. Now you can get into mindset and changing their skill set and teaching them how to do something. All of those are very interesting. First part of the 9 pillars. And then once you have them with clarity, alignment, accountability, now you manage, coach, and train. And those are our 9 pillars. We teach a lot about our 9 pillars as fundamental topics of someone from the moment they start with your company all the way through their tenure with the organization. So now, unfortunately, let's talk about what happens when they're not doing what they need to do, right? So I'm a huge fan of documentation. Again, being in staffing, I had got a wonderful opportunity to hire a lot of people. Unfortunately, that also meant from time to time that I needed to let people go. Okay. Or as I have called it before, promote them to the competition. Okay. Documentation is key. You have to document. We've created this form here that's the step-by-step employee warning report. And it tells you about which of the steps are necessary. And then you sign it, they sign it, and it goes in the file. They can have a copy of it if they like. So the 4 steps for us were coaching, having a coaching conversation. Hey, Billy, you know what? You did this, but I was hoping you were going to do that. Hey, Billy, I understand that this is what you did. Do you understand that here was your expectation? Those are coaching opportunities. Okay. Now, if you have enough coaching opportunities and you know that you had clarity and alignment and the person agreed to everything, and then they're just still not doing it, now you go to something called a verbal warning. Okay. A verbal warning is still announced as such. It's the first step of the disciplinary action on this sheet of paper here. And then you get to written warning, a week off with no pay. Now, be very, very clear. I say this, and this is my accountability piece. Check labor laws in your state if that's okay. A week off with no pay was okay in my state, right? If that's not a week off with no pay, then you have to figure out another thing in there. If it's a week off, stay home. Think about what we're doing and then come back and tell me what's going to change so that we can have a very good improvement and a very good marriage again. Okay. Up to dismissal. After so many times, unfortunately, you have to dismiss them. Now, let me be clear here really, really quick for a second. Doesn't mean if they break a cardinal rule, lying, cheating, stealing, that's not immediate firing. Doesn't mean if they're not going against core values, your 4 core values. My 4 core values was safety first, integrity, wow service, and making it a great place to work. Those were our 4 core values. And if someone went against those, they started this 4 steps of improvement. It is called 4 steps of improvement. It's not called 4 steps to firing. Yes, it's documentation. Yes, it covers you if in case that the separation goes south. Okay, it does it there. But here's what it is. You're really trying to get this person to understand your expectation, they're missing the mark, and how you need to get them together so that they can improve and stay part of your team. You already invested all this time, what I just spent the last 50-something minutes discussing. Why do you want to just give up on them? Against, not saying if they break a cardinal rule or they consistently go against, one of the major fireable offenses. Okay. So you have your coaching, verbal warning, written warning, week off, and dismissal. Okay. So that for me gives me the entire scenario for your steps for success, building a world-class recruiting company, build the culture, find the people, interview them well, offer them a really good job, go through everything, be very, very clear, onboard them, set them up for success with clarity, alignment, and accountability. Follow up with discipline, and discipline for all. Can't be for some. It's got to be for all. And promote to the competition if you have to. I hate that last step because it feels like a failure, but unfortunately, sometimes you have to do it. So that is what I wanted to explain to you guys today. I wanted to make sure that you kind of had a really good idea from culture to identification to holding them accountable to making them do their job all the way to disciplinary action. So again, I want to thank you guys for joining me today. I appreciate you giving me this time to talk to you about this very, very important subject. In fact, it's so important for CEO Warrior that we're going to include this now in our regular rotation of trainings that we do at our headquarters in New Jersey. We're going to add this to the rotation because I've heard enough that this could be a 2 or even 3-day training in person where we train a lot more of our techniques on interviewing, our techniques on finding people, like large group interviews. When I first heard about large group interviews, I thought it was nuts. I started doing them and I was hiring 3, 4 people at a time, interviewing 20 people in a room all at one time by myself. And you don't need 17 years of recruiting experience to do that. There's a process and a procedure. We lay it out in our trainings, exactly how you do that. And you get an opportunity to interview 15, 17, 20 people in one shot and pick your best few. Hiring events are an absolute game changer. That's right. Let me tell you guys a little secret. One of our best employees, Caroline, who's on this call with us, was found at a hiring event. Okay? Some of your best employees you will find at a hiring event. And we go through all of that in our trainings. And that's why this is a 2 or 3 day training that's going to be in rotation for us. So once again, I'm glad you guys joined me for this today. Thank you very much for an hour of your time. Hopefully this was useful information. And quite frankly, if you want to hear more, please feel free to reach out to CEO Warrior, set up a phone call, and listen to what we have to say about how we're able to improve companies' hiring, operations, financial well-being. So give us a call and let us see how we can help you. And if you're already a member joining us today, thank you. I appreciate that. You don't know immensely how much we appreciate it. And it's an honor to do what we do. So thank you very much. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.